I already changed the locks this morning, my sister Patricia announced at our grandmother's funeral, jingling keys in front of grieving relatives. The lake house Grandma had built with her bare hands 50 years ago. Patricia had locked me out before our grandmother's body was even in the ground. But what would Patricia say when she discovered Grandma had been secretly recording every visit for the last 3 years, and the footage was about to play in the lawyer's office? My name is Julia Sinclair, and this is the story of how my grandmother's final revenge became my vindication. Growing up, the lake house was magical. Every summer, Grandma Rose would host us for weeks, teaching me to fish off the dock, letting me help with her famous raspberry jam, telling stories about Grandpa and the house they'd built together with lumber he'd milled himself. Patricia, 3 years older, would complain about the mosquitoes, the lack of Wi-Fi, the boring countryside. "Why can't we just go to Disney World like normal families?" she'd whine, while I helped Grandma tend her garden. By high school, Patricia stopped coming entirely. College, boyfriends, internships, always an excuse. She'd show up for Christmas dinner, take her envelope of cash, and disappear until the next holiday. 20 years passed like this. Patricia building her life in Manhattan. Me visiting Grandma every weekend, even after moving 2 hours away for work. "Don't you get tired of that drive?" my coworkers would ask. "She won't be around forever," I'd reply, not knowing how prophetic those words were. 3 years ago, Grandma's health declined. Nothing dramatic, just the slow theft of mobility that comes with being 91. Patricia didn't notice because Patricia didn't visit. But I saw every change. The way she gripped the railing tighter, how she paused mid-sentence to catch her breath, the new pills multiplying on her kitchen counter. "I should move in," I told her one Sunday. "Help out." "Nonsense." "I'm fine," she insisted, then fell trying to reach a pot from the high shelf. I moved in that weekend. Didn't ask permission, just showed up with suitcases. Converted the downstairs study to her bedroom so she wouldn't need to climb stairs. Installed grab bars in the bathroom. Learned her medication schedule. Patricia called once during those 3 years. Once. "Is she dying?" she asked bluntly. "Because I need to know for work. Can't just drop everything." "She's alive," I said. "That's all you need to know." "God, Julia, always so dramatic. Call me when there's actual news." There was actual news constantly. Grandma's garden blooming despite her arthritis because I tended it under her direction. Her joy when we digitized all the family photos together. The morning she taught me to make her mother's polished soup, crying as she remembered learning it herself at age 7. The night she had a mini stroke, and I held her hand in the ambulance, promising she wouldn't be alone. Patricia didn't know about any of it. 2 months before Grandma died, Patricia suddenly appeared, unannounced, uninvited, carrying a briefcase. "What are you doing here?" I asked, blocking the doorway. "Visiting my grandmother." "Is that a crime?" She pushed past me, heels clicking on hardwood Grandpa had laid in 1973. Found Grandma in her chair by the window, the one spot where she could still see her garden. Grandma rose. Patricia's voice went syrupy. "You look wonderful." Grandma studied her. "Patricia, it's been, how long?" "Oh, you know how busy New York is, but I'm here now. And I brought papers." My stomach dropped. "What papers?" Patricia pulled out documents. Power of attorney. Someone needs to manage Grandma's affairs properly. She shot me a look. Someone with actual financial experience. "I don't need managing," Grandma said quietly. "Of course not. This is just precautionary. And this one." Patricia produced another document. "Ensures the house stays in the family." "You'd want that, right?" "Just sign here." I snatched the papers. It wasn't power of attorney. It was a property transfer. Patricia was trying to steal the house while Grandma was still alive. "Get out," I said. "Julia, you're being. Get. Out." Patricia left, but not before whispering, "She's confused anyway. Probably doesn't even remember who owns what." That night, Grandma was quiet. Finally, she said, "Call Thomas Brennan." "The lawyer?" "Tomorrow. Tell him I need to update everything." Mr. Brennan came the next day with witnesses. Grandma spent 4 hours in private with him. When they emerged, she looked satisfied. "It's done," was all she said. 6 weeks later, on a warm Tuesday morning, I brought Grandma her tea and found her gone. Peaceful, in her chair, facing her garden. Her hand was cold, but still soft, still wearing the wedding ring Grandpa had made from a melted silver dollar. I called Patricia after the ambulance left. "Finally," she said, then caught herself. "Oh no. How sad. When's the funeral?" "Saturday." "I'll handle the arrangements. You've done enough." Her tone suggested I'd done too much. "Already handled," I said. "We'll see about that." Patricia arrived Friday night with her husband, Marcus, a real estate developer who looked at everything like it had a price tag. They went straight to the lake house, not even stopping at the funeral home. Saturday. The funeral. Grandma had requested simple, no fancy casket, no flowers, just people sharing memories. I spoke about summers on the lake, her teaching me to can vegetables, her singing polished lullabies when I couldn't sleep. Patricia spoke about Grandma's legacy and preserving family assets and honoring her memory through responsible estate management. Then, at the reception, she made her announcement. "I know this is difficult," Patricia began, voice carrying over conversations. "But Grandma would want us to handle things properly. She promised me the lake house years ago, said the eldest granddaughter should have it. I'll be moving in tomorrow to begin renovations." Cousins murmured sympathetically. Aunt Helen patted Patricia's hand. Everyone assumed it was true. Patricia was successful, married, the one who made it. Of course, Grandma would choose her. I said nothing. Just watched Patricia perform grief she didn't feel for a woman she'd barely known. That night, Patricia and Marcus stayed at a hotel. "Can't sleep in that musty old place until it's properly cleaned," she'd said loudly, ensuring everyone heard how generous she was to even take the burden. Sunday morning, 9 a.m. I parked down the road from the lake house, walked through the woods I knew by heart. The moving truck was already there. Patricia directing movers, Marcus measuring windows, probably calculating renovation costs. They'd changed the locks, as promised. The key I'd used for 20 years, useless. A Lincoln Town car pulled up. Mr. Brennan stepped out with his briefcase. "What's he doing here?" Patricia demanded. "Reading the will," he said simply. "As requested by Mrs. Rose Sinclair." "We don't need a reading," she told me. "Shall we go inside?" Brennan asked. "I changed the locks," Patricia said smugly. Brennan pulled out a key. "Mrs. Sinclair gave me a spare. For this purpose." We entered, Patricia and Marcus confident, me silent, Brennan professional. He set up a laptop on Grandma's dining table, the one where we'd shared thousands of meals. "Before we begin," Brennan said, "Mrs. Sinclair insisted you watch this." He pressed play. Grandma appeared on screen, sitting in her garden last spring. Alive, vibrant, sharp as ever. "Hello, Patricia," she began. "If you're watching this, you've already claimed my house. You always were predictable." Patricia's face drained white. 3 years ago, you tried to steal my home while I was still breathing. Did you think I was senile? I installed cameras afterward. Every room, every angle. Would you like to know what I saw? The video shifted to security footage. Patricia's single visit. Her attempt to trick Grandma into signing papers. Her words. "She's confused anyway." "But that's not all," Grandma continued. "Let's go back further." A montage. Every Christmas Patricia grabbed her money and left. Every excuse to avoid visiting. Phone recordings. Yes, Grandma had recorded calls of Patricia saying, "She's taking forever to die. And that house is worth $2 million at least, and Julia's probably poisoning her to get the inheritance." Now Grandma's face returned to screen. "Let's discuss Julia." New footage. Me helping Grandma to bed every night. Reading to her when her eyes grew too weak. Cooking every meal. Managing every medication. Holding her during the mini-stroke. Singing the polished lullabies back to her. Thousands of moments Patricia never knew existed. Julia. Grandma looked directly at the camera, at me. You were my true granddaughter. Not by blood alone, but by choice. By presence. By love. Patricia stood. This is emotional manipulation. It doesn't change the will. Let's discuss the will. Brennan interrupted, pulling out documents. This is the will Patricia references, dated 15 years ago. He showed it, standard, everything split between grandchildren. And this, he pulled out another document, is the actual will. Dated 2 weeks before Mrs. Sinclair's passing. Properly witnessed, notarized, filed with the court. He began reading. To my granddaughter Patricia Ann Morrison, who visited once in 3 years, and only then to attempt theft, I leave the following. Nothing. Specifically, deliberately, intentionally, nothing. Patricia gasped. The letter continues, Brennan read. Patricia, you assumed my silence was senility. It was observation. You valued my property over my presence. The house you're trying to steal? Julia owns it. Has for the past week. I transferred the deed before I died. The bank accounts. Julia's. The car, the jewelry, the antiques you've already mentally cataloged. All Julia's. You wanted my assets, not me. Now you have exactly what you gave me in my final years. Nothing. This is illegal. Marcus shouted. We'll contest. On what grounds? Brennan asked. Mrs. Sinclair was evaluated by 3 separate physicians the day she updated her will. All confirmed mental competency. The security footage shows attempted elder abuse and fraud by Mrs. Morrison. Would you like to proceed legally? They were trapped. Fight it, and the footage would become public. Patricia's reputation, her career, destroyed. There's more, Brennan continued. Mrs. Sinclair set aside one item for Patricia specifically. He handed her an envelope. Inside, a single photo. Patricia at age 7. Sitting on Grandma's lap at the lake house, both laughing. On the back, Grandma's shaky handwriting. This is the granddaughter I'll choose to remember. Patricia broke. Not movie tears. Ugly, choking sobs. The kind that come when you realize what you've lost can never be recovered. Get out, I said quietly. You have 10 minutes to clear your things from my house. The movers, who'd been frozen in place, began carrying boxes back to the truck. Patricia stood paralyzed, clutching the photo. Julia, please. You had 3 years. 900 days when you could have visited, called, cared. You chose not to. I was busy. I was busy too. I drove 2 hours each way, every weekend. Took family medical leave. Spent my savings on her medications when Medicare wouldn't cover everything. Because she mattered more than money. You manipulated her. I loved her. There's a difference. Marcus pulled Patricia toward the door. We should go. As they reached the threshold, Patricia turned. What did she say? At the end. I could have been cruel. Could have lied. Instead, I told the truth. She said she was glad. That she got to die in her home, looking at her garden, held by someone who loved her. She wasn't alone. Patricia's sob echoed across the lake. They left. The truck disappeared down the road, leaving tire marks in the gravel Grandpa had laid 50 years ago. I walked through the house, my house now, though it had always felt like mine. Grandma's presence was everywhere. Her handwriting on jam jars, her sweater on the chair, her glasses on the book she'd never finish. In her bedroom, I found one last envelope with my name. Inside, a note. My dearest Julia. The house is just wood and stone. What made it home was the love within its walls. You brought that love when I needed it most. You gave me dignity in my final years. You saw me not as an obligation or an asset, but as your grandmother. Patricia will contest nothing. The footage ensures that. But more importantly, she'll live knowing she traded her grandmother for the idea of money that was never coming. Make the house yours. Fill it with your own memories. Plant new roses beside mine. And remember, the greatest inheritance isn't property, it's knowing you were truly loved. Forever your grandmother, Rose. That was a year ago. The house thrives now. I work remotely 3 days a week, tend Grandma's garden, my garden, and host Sunday dinners for chosen family who actually show up. Patricia sent one message, 6 months after the funeral. I dream about her. She won't speak to me. I didn't reply. Some silences say everything. Last week, I was planting new roses when I found a stone Grandma must have placed years ago. Carved into it, love is presence, not presents. I think about Patricia sometimes, in her Manhattan apartment, surrounded by things that don't matter. She gained nothing and lost everything. Not because of the will, but because she'd lost it all years earlier. Every time she chose absence over attendance. Every excuse that mattered more than moments. The lake house stands solid, filled with laughter again. Friends visit, staying in rooms Patricia never slept in. We make Grandma's jam, using berries from bushes Patricia never picked. We sit on the dock Patricia thought was boring, watching sunsets she never saw. And sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear Grandma humming in the garden. Content knowing her home went to someone who understood its true value. Not the property assessment or the renovation potential, but the love that soaked into every board, every brick, every bloom. Patricia wanted the house. I wanted the home. Grandma knew the difference. That's why I'm here and Patricia is nowhere at all.